Here are the colors that you will need in this project. Welcome to day 2 of our challenge. So this is still part of the simple blossoms or simple blooms. So we will be painting larkspur. This is a slender plant with some small cluster of flowers, and again it's going to be very easy to paint. And so I decided to also choose blue for this flower. You can find it in lavender, in purple, in pink, and even white. So we're just going to start with some 4 or 3 petal flowers and add some green in the center. And you can see I'm adding some buds as well. So we will be looking at the reference photo later on. And after painting the buds and flowers, we're going to paint these slender leaves using a size 2 round brush. So we're going to paint those wispy leaves. Okay, so after that, I wanted to add some more depth. So I added some indigo in the center of the flowers. And it really made a huge difference. I think it made the flower pop up even more. Alright, so we're just going to add some finishing touches, some small buds and leaves. Okay, so let's start painting. Now let me quickly show you guys the reference photo. So this is the larkspur flower that we are going to use as a reference. You can see the small cluster of 4 or 5 petal flowers and also some light green buds. And you can also find this in a different shade of blue. So that's also a beautiful blue. You can try to do that as well. So first we're going to use our pencil. And I'm just going to lightly draw on my paper as a guide. We can just try to draw the stems and a little bit of the flowers. Just make sure that you draw lightly, because once you paint on top of the sketch, you can no longer erase the pencil markings. Okay, so here I'm just trying to decide which flowers I will add and also adjust the height of the flowers and the gap between the flowers. So I want them all in different heights, so they are also diagonally across each other, just to add some movement to the painting. Okay, so we are going to use the color Verditer Blue. This is one of my favorite blue colors. I like that it has a little bit of that pastel color. And now I'm also going to mix in a little bit of cerulean blue on my palette and just a little bit of this ultramarine. So I'm just sort of preparing the colors that I need. Alright, I'm using a size 6 round brush, and we're going to start with the color Verditer Blue. And we're going to start with 4 petals. So you can see I'm just painting a loop to paint the petals. So right here, I just rinse my brush to create a lighter color, and I'm adding a little bit of that ultramarine blue. So we are going to leave the center blank for now. Next, I'm gonna grab my cerulean blue. Just try to dilute it in water so that the color isn't that bold, because cerulean blue is a bright color. So I just painted 3 petals beside the first flower. Now let's add a few more petals. So we can just paint maybe 2 or 3 petals, and it will suggest that this flower is behind the first flower. So we don't really need to paint all the petals all the time. Alright, so now that we have a few flowers here, we can grab greenish yellow and add it in the center of the flowers while they are all still wet. You can also dab your brush in the tissue paper to make sure that it's not too wet, because you don't want the greenish yellow to mix too much with the blue petals. Okay, so let me just add a few more petals here. Alright, so we are going to add our stems, and I'm going to mix sap green with burnt umber to create an earthy green color. So I'm just going to attach all of these flowers into a stem. Next, diagonally across this cluster of flowers, we're going to start another cluster. So we don't want this to be in the same height. So we want it to be a little bit higher. So right here, I'm just painting 3 petals, and then I can just rinse my brush to change the value. So you can see that some petals are lighter, some are more opaque. It's also best to use a small brush to be able to create these petals. So you can just really drag your brush and create a loop to paint these petals. And make sure that you also leave an ample space between the petals, just to make it look more interesting so that it won't look like a blob of paint. Next, we're going to add the center, adding some greenish yellow again. Let me just quickly show you the flowers in our reference photo. So you'll notice that we tried to also simplify the flowers. And that's what I love about painting loose flowers, because you don't really need to paint all the details. You just want the main characteristic of the flower when you're painting loose flowers. And then now I'm just gonna add some more stems. You can see I'm adding some like broken lines, and the stems are a little bit curved just to add some movement. And now I'm just adding a few more stems sticking out, and we can put some buds or some flowers there later on. Okay, let's add another cluster of flowers. So you'll notice that this one is a bit higher. So I'm just going to put some spaces in between my petals. And then now let's grab some more of this verditer blue. You can also mix some of the blues in your palette. So these are really just simple blooms, but once you turn them into a cluster, it becomes very beautiful. Okay, so I'm just repeating the process for the flowers, and now we're going to add the stems. Alright, so we can also add a few more stems over here just to fill in this white space. And then next we can grab some greenish yellow and kind of dilute it in water, and we're going to use this color to paint some small buds. So adding buds is a great way to also add some texture to your paintings, because it's a different shape from the flowers. So you'll notice that the buds are a little bit light, and I'm just gonna grab some burnt umber and mix it to my sap green, and we're going to add that color towards the base of the buds, and you'll see that it will create a beautiful effect. Alright, using a size 2 round brush, we're going to paint these wispy leaves. You can see those nice thin elongated leaves, and we can achieve that by using a smaller brush. So you can notice that I'm trying to also drag my brush and letting it move in different directions. Alright, so the bottom part needs a little bit more leaves and also some blue flower. So I feel like we need some blue towards the bottom part just to make it feel more balanced. So I'm just gonna grab my paint, and you can see it has been mixed with a little bit of green, and that's fine. Alright, so we can go back in with some more green and add it towards the center of the flowers. Adding a second layer to loose flowers can help us add some more depth. So I'm just mixing verditer blue and ultramarine blue. You'll notice this color is maybe 2 shades darker than the base flowers that we already painted here. I'm just going to paint some thin strokes in between the petals, and that's going to help separate the petals, making it more pronounced. This is a technique that I love to add to flowers because it makes the flowers pop up even more. You can also think of it as shadow. So these can be shadow in between the petals, the curves of the petals. Okay, it's looking good, so we can add some more depth. I'm using indigo. You can use black or even sepia or any brown color, and just tapping my brush to just absorb the extra moisture in my brush because I don't want the paint to spread all over the petals. Okay, so just use the tip of the brush and lightly tap it on the paper to create some small dots. So at this point, you can look at the reference photo again and observe if there are details that you can add to your painting. So right here, I'm just adding some light colored buds. I don't want it to be too dark because I don't want it to grab attention, but at the same time, I want there to be a little bit of color just to fill in some of the white gaps in between the flowers and the leaves. Okay, so we're just adding this to complement the main flowers. Alright, so we're done. Congratulations for finishing your second project. I hope that you enjoyed painting this larkspur, and I hope that you can try it in different colors